sussing out your luck, going hard in the paint, and that's how you assert dominance.
Hey, what's up guys, it's SirTagCR, and today we're going to be bringing to you a guide on how to master Golem. In this video, I collabed with Saunadude, who is one of the best Golem players in the world. And I know that this might sound crazy, but he actually won 41 12-win grand challenges in a single week with this deck. I know that 41 grand challenges seems like quite a lot, so I'll be putting proof to that down below in the description of the video. And if you guys enjoy videos like this, make sure to let me know down below in the comment section, and consider subscribing up if you haven't already. Without a doubt, this is one of the best decks in the game, especially for grand challenges. So let's go jump straight into the guide and get you guys playing Golem like a pro. Since Golem is the win condition of this deck, let's first talk about when you can actually drop your Golem. So specifically with this variation of Golem, if you're up a minimum of 3 to 5 elixir, you can safely drop your Golem. You can safely drop your Golem in a lot more instances with this deck in particular, because its cheap defensive cards like Ice Spirit, Tornado, and Night Witch will allow you to pull off very effective defenses, allowing you to defend with minimal elixir investment. With other more expensive variations of Golem like Golem Double Prince, it's best to wait until you're up 4 or 5 elixir. Another potential reason for you to drop your Golem is if your opponent does not have their win condition in cycle. For example, they start a Hog Rider, you tornado it to your King Tower, and then you're free to start your Golem push. They would have to cycle 4 more cards in single elixir to cycle back to Hog Rider to punish the opposite lane, and that's simply not possible. In this scenario, they will be forced to defend, and they will be cycling all of their units towards your Golem. So you'll be able to cycle all of your units behind your Golem, and you'll be able to use all of your elixir on offense and create that Golem push that every Golem player dreams of. So if their win condition is far out of cycle, there's going to be no great way for them to punish your Golem, so you're free to start in the back. Another scenario where you can drop a Golem in the back early on is if your opponent drops a Golem, a Lava Hound, or a Giant in the back. You want to go same lane as them and stockpile a whole bunch of units using your Baby Dragon and Night Witch to obliterate their push. If you as the Golem player goes same lane as the Lava Hound or Giant player, you will always win that battle. The Golem has the most hit points out of any tank in the game, so that means that your Golem is going to stay alive longer than any Giant or Lava Hound push. And because your opponent's tank will die first, that means that the supporting units behind their tank will get worked on first. Because your supporting units will stay alive longer, your opponent will have to allocate more elixir to respond to that, and then your elixir advantage will snowball, and that will lead you to a very easy victory. So if you're able to align your Golem in the same lane as your opponent's Giant or Lava Hound push, you should almost always win that matchup. So next, let's cover the best starting plays with this deck. So the number one best play with this Golem deck is starting off with an Elixir Collector. You can only start off with an Elixir Collector though if you have Ice Spirit, Night Witch, or Tornado in hand. You need a way of catching Miner, otherwise it's just too risky. When you're initially dropping your Collector, always drop it in the middle so you're able to identify the pathing of any potential Miner, and then you're also not going to be susceptible to graveyard pushes. The second best play is cycling an Ice Spirit at the river because it has no repercussions. The third best and safest cycling play is cycling a Zap on your opponent's pump and tower, or just your opponent's tower. However, you can only do this if your opponent goes in for a Collector or zaps your tower first. If your opponent goes in for a Collector and you zap it, you're going to net an even trade and mitigate 2 elixir from that Collector. If your opponent cycles a zap at the start of the game on your tower, they're probably not going to be running a log bait deck, so you can safely allocate a zap on their tower as well. The fourth best play is waiting. Golem requires patience and it thrives in double elixir. Since Golem is an 8 elixir tank, if you make it all the way until double elixir without dropping anything, it will benefit you way more than your opponent. Waiting is never a bad idea with Golem. You just can't cycle a Baby Dragon, a Mega Minion, or a Night Witch at the start. You need to get value out of those units, and cycling them at the start of the game is not ensured value. So essentially, if you can't safely Collector up, drop an Ice Spirit at the river, or drop a zap on top of your opponent's Collector and tower, it's just best to wait. You can just get punished way too easily by cycling the wrong card in the back, and it actually benefits you to wait, so there's no reason not to. So now let's take a look at all of Golem's matchups. So against Logbait, try to keep your towers as healthy as possible in single elixir, and try to get your King Tower activated with NATO as soon as possible. Bait decks can punish pretty heavily for cheap pressure, so be cautious dropping your Golem in single elixir. When you hit 10 elixir, pump up in the middle. It will bait out your opponent's rocket and it will burn more time, allowing you to get to double elixir safer. In double elixir, you can start Golem pushing and applying a lot more pressure. When double elixir hits and you're applying a lot of aggression, do not give any rocket value. And be sure to effectively NATO on offense to clump up all of their units and draw it into your push, especially princesses. On offense, you can also pump up while pushing and play for the long game. This will bait out your opponent's rocket so they're not able to get too much value, but you can really only do this if you have momentum in the game and your tower is not too low. Against Pekka Miner, Poison King Tower activation is crucial, and it will force them to poison your pump for the remainder of the game. Because they poisoned your Collector, your Night Witch will get some absurd value. They will not have a great answer to kill the bats. In single elixir, after they poison your pump and you're hitting 10 elixir with no obvious play, you can start a Golem. And because they cycle the poison on the Collector, the Night Witch bats will not have a response. they will not have an adequate answer to the bats accumulating behind the Golem. Unchecked Night Witch and bats at the very least will allow your Golem push to trade evenly with the Pekka player. The Night Witch and Mega Minion are going to be your main ways of killing the Pekka, so at all times you at least have to have one of them behind your Golem. In double elixir, it's imperative to pump cycle and force your opponent to poison the pump. Since you can always block and redirect Miner with Tornado or Ice Spirit, they will have to poison your collectors, and then your Night Witch will have free reign behind your Golem every single time. It's also very important to utilize NATO effectively on offense in this matchup. When you employ Tornado correctly, you can pull Electro Wizards, Flying Machines, Zappies right into your push, disintegrate them, and the Pekka will not be able to protect them. Another really useful tip to net some positive elixir trades against this Pekka Hut deck is kiting the Royal Ghost the opposite lane with an Ice Spirit. If one tower is much healthier than the other, you can kite to the opposite lane with an Ice Spirit, and with your King Tower helping out, you can ignore the Ghost once he starts attacking your stronger Crown Tower. Overall, the main way to win this matchup is always defending your pumps. If you defend your pump, they poison the collector, you start a Golem push, you start a Night Witch, they will not have a reliable way of killing the bats, and then you'll eventually overrun them with effective tornadoes on offense. One of the main reasons that Night Witch is in this deck is for that poison bait element with a pump, so you can actually beat Pekkas. In the Golem vs Golem mirror matchup, it's all about the pump game. And once your tanks cross the river, the opponent that snipes the supporting units first will have an advantage. Against other Golem decks, you typically would like your Night Witch to be on top of the Golem to DPS it down. Your Mega Minion and Baby Dragon can work on your opponent's support, and utilizing the Ice Spirit and Zap to win the Mega Minion battles is imperative. Also, when you have a Baby Dragon in play, it is super effective to tornado your opponent's support cards away from your support, so then they attack your Golem. Besides getting that elixir advantage by initially pumping up, keeping your supporting units alive is the second most important thing. Keeping your supporting units alive will cause more of a response from your opponent, which will catapult you ahead in elixir, allowing you to start a Golem push with a huge elixir advantage. Against 3 Musketeer players, the pump game is paramount. Even if you have to eat up some damage, it's really important to block the Miner, and you should be able to get away with just an Ice Spirit if you pump up in the middle. In some situations, if you go in for a single elixir Golem, if your opponent overcommits heavily, do not be afraid to trade towers. Always try to pair the Golem with the Baby Dragon when you know that they have Minion Horde in cycle, and when you know that they have 3 Musketeers in cycle and they're poised to use them on defense, drop Mega Minion and Night Witch behind your Golem and get ready to immediately NATO them all into your push. If you can't afford a Baby Dragon or it's simply not in cycle, make sure you utilize the Ice Spear and Zap combination to finish off the Horde. Whenever you see your Baby Dragon lock onto your opponent's tower or an Ice Golem or Battle Ram, you gotta get ready with that Ice Spirit and Zap because they're probably gonna try to drop the Minion Horde right on top. If they split their Musketeers, you can use a lone Ice Spirit to deny a lot of damage from the non-tanked 2 Musketeer side. But if they end up committing a lot to the split push offense, don't be afraid to lose a tower, just go really hard on offense as well, and you'll usually end up winning the game because your offense will be more effective. Since they don't really have a great way of dealing with that Golem Baby Dragon push, the Minion Horde just gets zapped Ice Spirited immediately. The 3 Musketeer matchup can be pretty dynamic and crazy, but you will end up winning it if you play calculated offense, defend your elixir collectors, and at the same time always supporting your Golem pushes while making sure you don't get 3 crowned. So against the graveyard matchup, it is imperative to pump up in the middle. In single elixir, it's okay to go in for a Golem when you're up 3 elixir or more. And if they go in for a graveyard to punish opposite lane, you can deal with it rather easily. First and foremost, you want to Mega Minion their graveyard tank. Killing the graveyard tank early on is really important because it will allow your tower to retarget from that tank to the graveyard skeletons. After your Mega Minion cleans up the tank and your tower retargets onto the graveyard skeletons, you can clean up the clumped skeletons with an Ice Spirit Zap, and you'll sustain minimal damage, and you'll be able to go hard in the paint, NATOing their Ewiz or Musketeer into your push, and then when they poison defensively, you'll have a Night Witch for free against Graveyard and they will not be able to deal with it, or you'll be able to pump up for free and they won't be able to poison that as well. If you end up pumping up in the middle, baiting out your opponent's poison so your Night Witch is able to get value and kill your opponent's graveyard tank, so then the tower is able to target the graveyard skeletons first and foremost, you should have a pretty easy time with Graveyard and the matchup will be a lot easier for you. Against Hog Rider, Executioner, or NATO, King Tower activation is key. And if they have an Ice Golem in front of their Hog Rider, make sure you kill the Ice Golem first and NATO the Hog Rider directly to your King Tower. In single elixir, never play your Night Witch behind your Golem because it will immediately get Executioner NATO'd and it will die a tragic death. To support your Golem adequately, you want to wait and then play your Baby Dragon or Mega Minion once the Executioner turns around, and then you can force them to NATO very light pushes that they don't want to. On defense against Hog Rider Executioner decks, you gotta make sure that you're staggering your units. If he has a pretty massive counter push coming at you with an Executioner Hog Rider, it's imperative to redirect the Executioner and make sure it's not shooting everything in a straight line. So make sure you're splitting up your Mega Minion, Baby Dragon, Night Witch, whatever it is, you can't let them all be clumped up. In double elixir, you really want to focus on using Mega Minion and Ice Spirit on the Hog Rider so you can NATO his Executioner into your push when you're converting defense into offense. It's the most cost efficient defense and it will allow you to preserve your Tornado, so then you're able to have your Tornado on offense and NATO his Executioner directly into your push so he's not able to get value. Also, when you're supporting your Golem with any air units, make sure you're putting them right against the wall. So then Ice Golems won't be able to kite them and you're going to be avoiding spell value. Another quick tip for this matchup is if you ever see your opponent cycling an Executioner behind the king, you can oftentimes just cycle a Night Witch Golem right at the bridge, and then they'll try to vigorously cycle back to another Executioner just in time for it to get NATO'd into your push, and you'll obliterate them. And that's actually where I'm going to end today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this Golem guide, and if you did, make sure to sauce me a fat thumbs up, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And a huge shout out to Saunadude for all the help in the video. As always guys, thanks for watching, thanks for chilling with me, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Peace out.